it's very challenging to work in HR. It's not an easy job. They hate you or they hate you kind of job, you know.
Lose-lose.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose always, because people think about.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Work Pod. I am your host, Cameron Collins, and with us today, a highly skilled and highly certified HR professional. Over 17 years of work experience in the HR field, specifically focused on HR strategy and HR consultancy. He's perhaps one of the most progressive and most forward-thinking gentlemen I've had the privilege of working with in this field. Mr. Abdulaziz Al Tamimi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. So 2 days in Dubai, I believe.
Yeah, 2 days counting today as well. Tomorrow I'll be going back to Riyadh.
Excellent. I mean, it's such an unfortunate timing. The weather we have outside for the listeners overseas, an absolute sandstorm out there.
Yeah. It was not planned actually. It's one of those business trips that comes out in the last minute. So it was very challenging even to get to to find the right plane and to find the accommodation was really challenging. But I'm here right now.
Great, good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hear that the sandstorm actually came from Kuwait and from Qatar. I believe they've actually announced a 3-day holiday as a result of the weather. I mean, this is something you'll only find in the GCC, right? Where else in the world do you get days off?
Yeah, actually, I was really afraid that it actually might even cancel the trip, because in my way to the airport, it was actually a little bit very challenging to see the road. But I remember somewhere, I think it was 2014 or 2012, there was actually a huge sandstorm in Sydney, Australia. And people over there were like very surprised. And for us, it's just a walk in the park. We see this all the time. I remember that time actually, it happened in Sydney, Australia as well, one time a couple of years ago. So it happens. This is the season. I think this is where it comes. Normally it comes from the north and it comes down towards the south as well.
Have you seen the movie, I think it's 007 with Tom Cruise, and the sandstorm brushes through Dubai and you see Burj Khalifa in the background? Yeah. Highly exaggerated, but not too far from the truth today.
No, actually it gets quite dark. I don't know if you have the chance or if you've seen it before. I've seen clips. Thankfully I have never been inside the sandstorm when it actually takes place, but sometimes it gets extremely dark. Total blackout.
Yeah.
Once you are in the eye of the sandstorm, you can see it. If you just Google some of the video clips, you'll see that it's a little dusty, turns into orange, then all of a sudden it's total black in the middle of the day.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be caught in a sandstorm in the middle of the desert. That's for sure.
You don't have to be in the desert, actually. It happens inside the city as well. It happened a couple of times. Just try to Google it and you'll see.
Yeah,
you'll be surprised.
Well, for the listeners today, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and kind of what made you go into the field or the area of HR.
My name is Abdulaziz Al Tamimi. I'm in the human resources field for over 18 years right now. And it's quite a journey, actually. It's a journey that I did not expect or even plan. I have a bachelor degree in linguistics and translation, major in English language. It's at some point of your life when you go and think, what am I going to be when I grow up? Back then, there were not that many options. You don't know it, maybe because of the schools at that time, the schooling system was not that advanced. So it's always what your family, your close, your community will direct you into where you are going.
Sure.
Thankfully, my parents were extremely open. They were actually choose whatever you want. They did not force me to choose and select anything. That actually didn't help me that much because I don't have that kind of experience, at that time. I don't know exactly what am I going to do. Yeah. So I just went with the flow. I said I'll try a couple of options until I land what I think will be my academic interest. I tried a couple of options before, did not work. Then my parents were talking to me and they were saying, your English is quite good, so why don't you try to major in English? Said, why not? I'll try. And then I went for it. I studied English, linguistics and translation, graduated, and I started looking for a career. My main focus was basically to find a position that's actually close to my academic studies.
Sure.
I had a couple of options. I started my first options as an interpreter working with a company called Saudi Vinel. It's a contractor that works with the National Guard back in Riyadh. So they train the National Guard on how to use the devices, military, with whatever kind of devices and vehicles.
Okay.
So that was my first role. But funny enough, actually was not an interpreter. I was seconded to HR department over there. They said, your scores in English were really quite high. We want to use you in HR department. And that maybe was my first opening into HR. It was in training field as well.
And I'm assuming you're young at this point, right?
That was my...
20, 22?
24, 23 max talk. And I said, why not? So I started over there. But I was always thinking that maybe this is something temporary. I never thought that this is going to be my career and stuff like that. I didn't look at it as a career. I said, this is a job that's going to pay me. I'll go with it. Then I got another job as an interpreter and translator. I said, well, fine, I'll take it, I'll accept it. I worked there for about, I would say maybe less than a year. And I had this discussion with my line manager. I said, I'm an interpreter. I'm the only one who's actually working as an interpreter translator over there. No other colleagues that actually work with me. There was not much workload. So that's made me think that I work alone.
Yeah.
You know, it's very lonely. You know, you don't work with
There's
your
no
friends.
worse feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it at all. You know, I'm the only one. I get like a piece of paper that I have to translate in set of time. Then again, I deliver it and that's it. I didn't like it, so I spoke to my direct manager over there and I said, I would like to change. He said, why would you like? I explained everything to him and said, well, I'm going to be supportive, whatever you want, whatever you need, you can check. And he actually helped me because he called a couple of the guys that he knows, his peers, and he said, go talk to this guy, go to talk to that guy and see what comes out of it. I spoke to a couple of them, one in IT, one in marketing, and another guy who was actually working on an HR-related project. The guys who were working on an HR-related project said, we need him, we can take him, he has a good English and stuff like that. That was one of the more important things that they were looking for. And from there I switched to HR. I'm still at the funny thing is that at that situation, that level, I did not expect actually that this is going to be my career. I said, okay, I'll make that switch. Then I started progressing in HR. My second role was in learning and development, and I remember when I was moving to the second job, I had that chance where that time where I was thinking, actually, this is my career.
This is it. You found it.
Yeah, this is it, you know. Maybe like after 4 years, more or less working in that field, I think this is it. This is my... I love what I'm doing. I'm really passionate about it. I think I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
Well, it seems like you identified a pain point as an employee, right? Working by yourself, not having connections with any colleagues, not having workloads. And then you managed to kind of translate that and switch into HR and actually potentially solve some of the pain points that you experienced as an employee.
True. Because actually working alone, it makes you feel that you are not really quite productive. You don't have someone to compare your work against. You don't know if you are doing good or bad, except what you hear back from your boss. But there is no competition. Yeah. And it's very lonely. You know, it's very lonely. It gets boring very quick, and that's what actually made me think, my God, my job is a dead end. It's a dead end job. Actually, it's not a dead end job, but for me, that's the only thought that was in my mind. Yeah. At that time, if you ask me, I will tell anyone that's going to work in translation, run away. Don't work in that job. You will be bored. You will hate it. Although I love translation. For me, it's like puzzle. But from that situation that I was working alone, I had no one to talk to, no one to compete with. Yeah. For me, it was really frightening. I received 3 or 4 days ago, actually, a young man talked to me asking for guidance. He said, I'm just graduated as an interpreter, and
Wow.
I need advice. If he asks me the same questions 10 years ago, I would tell him run away. Honestly speaking, I would tell him run away. Don't work in that field at all.
Tell him to join us in the HR space. No?
I actually told him.
the way to go.
I said, give it a try. Try it out. Be careful of what's there, but give it a try. Don't make that judgment that it's not going to be fun for you. Try it, experience it, then think about, I want to change my career. Don't start thinking about changing your career without at least testing it. That's the thing.
No, it needs to be tested. So you started, I think, your journey in the HR field in the government. Then I believe you went into tech and then into telco. Then you ended up back in government, right?
Yeah.
Which is where you are now.
Yes.
How has that journey been? I mean, same or similar-ish positions, but jumping across different industries. I'm assuming you've collected a whole bunch of information in terms of how people work and behaviors.
True. Actually, even I started. I'm one of the lucky ones who actually I'm quite independent since I was maybe like 14, 15 years old. I remember that I used to work with my father. I go out and try to find something that I can do. And I was able to buy all the stuff that I love and like at a young age. All my friends, they come to my place and they say, how did you get that? How did you manage to get that? Although my family are not, we are not a rich family at all. We are, I would say, average, or even at that time below average. But the thing is that people come to my place and say, how did you get to buy that? I work, and this is how I reward myself. This is how I say thank you to myself for working hard.
For sure.
The thing is, I've went through a lot of experience, even for the government. Working for the government 5 years ago, 6 years ago is completely different experience than working for government right now. A lot is changing in Saudi Arabia, and I think it's very apparent. In the last 5 years, there are huge changes. So working in these different situations, private sector, small company, big company, very professional company, an international company, working for the government at two different phases as well. And even with the government, there are like different type of government. There is what you call is like a commission or and there's the ministry as well. So it's different. It gave me a sense of how people think, understand the politics, understand the policies and procedures, and understand how to anticipate how people want or expect you to work as well. So it was quite enriching.
Beautiful. I haven't had the privilege of going to Saudi in the recent past, but friends, family have been there recently, and they really say you have to see it and feel it to believe what's going on in Saudi right now in terms of development, in terms of growth, in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship. I hear absolutely incredible things, and it looks like you guys as a nation are making leaps and bounds of progress towards achieving that vision in 2030.
True. And you have to be there 5 years ago, I would say, in 5 to 4 years ago, and then come back to see exactly. You will not believe it. I used to remember that I used to visit Dubai since the 90s. At that time we did not visit, when we did not come to Dubai. We used to go to Sharjah, for example, for visiting family and relatives and friends. And I still remember, and I'm really amazed about, you go back home and you come within 1 month or 2 months, you will see a lot changed actually in Dubai. And you think about it, that's huge, very fast and rapid change. People say that it's not going to last. It's a bubble that it will not continue. But you see, Dubai is still there. It's rapid, quick, and this is what you need. Sometimes change has to come strong and quick.
Yeah.
Because if you keep listening to people or take it the what seems or looks like the rational way, you will be stuck in your place. Sometimes you have to break that invisible wall in front of you to really understand that there was actually no wall at all. It's all your fears, your people, what they think and say. Sometimes you have to do it. You might be exceedingly successful. You might find challenges along the way. But the thing is, take the step and then deal with those challenges that you face along the way. Otherwise, you'll stay in your place. You will not move.
the amount of respect I have for some of the leaders in the GCC is just unparalleled. I don't think anybody's doing what they're doing with regards to kind of development. And you're right, those invisible walls, those invisible barriers, they seem to be breaking it down and really providing the tools and resources for small businesses, for large businesses, subsidies, and I think they're attracting investors and corporations from around the world, which just boosts the economy.
The problem is that people think of what would happen, what would people think. People will reject. People will not accept. People will actually maybe go into riots and stuff like that. It's what we always fail to understand is that human actually has an unbelievable way into adapting. We adapt to the environment, to what's around us, and that's what actually maybe sets us apart from any other different creature. We have minds. We can think, we can adapt, we can understand at one point or another. If someone doesn't tell you that this is for your own good, you can actually put 1 + 1 together and understand and see the changes. That's actually very good. Some of those obstacles might be cultural. People will say you can't imagine. But let's take Saudi female driving. This is one of the things that's been on hold. It's there, but it has been on hold. And why it's been on hold? Because people thinking that how will the community react? It's not that the people at the government, or the leaders are thinking we don't agree, we don't like it. They want it, but the thing is, what people usually think is how would the community react? How would the people around you react? They will hate it. They will not like it. They will do that or this. But now it's a huge success.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's the thing. People can adapt. If they can see the positive thing. If you don't tell them, you should tell them actually if you are going to do a change. You have to tell people why you are doing that change. If you don't, it will be an obstacle. It will be a challenge. But people can put one to one together. And people are always three type of people. You have people who are actually in the front pulling you. You have people who are, I'll see what happens. I'm with you guys. And you have people who are always in the back trying to pull you back.
I think that's a perfect transition into kind of the unparalleled or unprecedented growth that the Ministry of Investments is actually going through right now. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
So we had a discussion, I want to say a couple of months ago, and you mentioned that you closed off the year with somewhere around 750 employees, and you hired close to 350 employees last year.
Yeah.
How do you maintain such aggressive growth targets, but at the same time maintain a consistent corporate culture, focus on onboarding and introduce kind of new characters into the office, but still kind of streamline operation? It must be a challenge.
It is actually. It's one of the biggest challenges that I think any organization that thinks of starting and hiring new people, they're going to face this, whether they hire 5 or 10 employees or even more. You're in a huge change by itself. You've just switch from being an organization, a small organization, into becoming a ministry. So that alone is a huge change. Leadership change, the way you do with the business, the way you interact with other organizations, that's in its own is a lot of change. So if you are in a normal organization saying now you're an authority, but you will change into a ministry, it's a completely different level of communicating with other organizations, and leadership is completely different. You need different kind of leadership at one point or another, or way of thinking, let me say. So if you said, let's switch and deal with this change, that's a lot of things. That's huge. It's a huge culture change. You have to really take it slow with employees and stuff like that. Think about introducing new people. That's another thing that will add to you. Add to it the pandemic and what took place in the pandemic. Add to it again the economic challenges that you are facing. So you can't provide sometimes all the options. You can't get all the budget that you are expecting to do. You can say people might think it's a GCC country. You can get money, or you can do it's the rich country. You can do whatever That's actually not the case. It's never that the case. We are extremely careful right now. We want to step away from being highly dependent on oil and go and find other options to increase the investments. So we are extremely careful into what we spend and where do we spend it. So all that into place business-wise, business level kind of change. Add to it the human factor.
Yeah.
Each and every individual thinks maybe, let's say maybe a group of people, they think in a different way. You'll talk to this guy, they have their own priorities. You'll talk to the other guy, they will have completely different priorities than that. That guy might be interested in training. The other guy interested in having and being promoted and getting a salary quick. The other guy is actually is interested in his office space. So it's a lot of challenges here and there. So what you need to do, and what we are actually doing, is basically trying as much as we can, as much as we can, to talk to our people. Add to that we are actually even busy as an HR department.
Yeah.
You are adding on an average somewhere between 20 to 30 employees on a monthly basis. You're adding new minds, new culture, new people to that. So you're busy actually doing your own operational kind of work. So what we are trying to do, and what we did before and still trying to do as well, is try to talk to our people. So we do engagement surveys, and we do action plan based on those engagement surveys. We talk to other functions as well that who are might be responsible for the environment, and we try to talk to them because we understand the challenge that they are facing. When it comes to spaces, for example, it's not our issue. It's a responsibility of a different department. We go and talk to them, and then come back to employees and explain to them. It's always about explaining people. Yeah, you have to understand we are growing very fast, very quick. So it's always about communicating and finding that right tone into conveying the message, letting people see, and people want to see results. If you keep talking to people, just talking, or even ignoring, maybe ignoring people, but giving them results might solve some of the problem. But talking to them, for example, or not talking to them and not giving them something in return, that's a huge issue. So engagement survey is actually one of them. Action plans and the results are actually one of them. We're doing a huge change in learning and development this year, which actually has been triggered by the engagement surveys and people actually wanting more. So it's all that together. You have to talk. You have to keep an open communication and find the right tools and systems that help you actually talk and understand what people like and don't like and want change.
Well, I think despite the aggressive adoption of change, and despite your busy schedule, it seems like you and the rest of your team have really stood back and started to understand or started to look at the employee experience, right, from start to end, from onboarding to kind of offboarding. Yes. And I saw a couple months ago you actually hired somebody that's designated for culture. And so with this aggressive change and with kind of your aggressive growth targets in terms of hiring and recruiting, maintaining that unified corporate culture is often a massive challenge. And I think it all starts with hiring somebody that's responsible for that culture. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about maybe the roles and responsibilities of somebody that champions culture in the organization.
Actually, I have one dedicated function. It's one of my most important functions. It's HR strategy and corporate culture. These guys are my thinking, mind for how to put the strategy of HR and how to understand the people pain. What they take care of basically are engagement, change management, HR strategy in general, policies and procedures. So they look at the issues and challenges. If it's a policy, they will recommend a change to that policy. They look at the challenges and things that people are facing. For example, I'll give you an example that took place a few weeks ago. One of the challenges that we used to face is that we onboard maybe like a lot of people in one day. So we cannot provide the good experience that this new hire is expecting, because when you get one or two people who are taking these guys into tours and explaining to them the whole situation, it's completely different experience if they are a group of 5 versus a group of 20 or 30. Yeah. So they analyze these kind of issues. They have their own metrics, the dashboards and stuff like that, and they come back to me. They with their thoughts about it. We do some kind of sometimes forecasting as well. If we continue doing business like this is how much we'll have in that time, and we try to solve it. So I have this function. This is what they do basically.
I read a very interesting definition on culture, and it's associating the word like corporate culture to biology, and it says something along the lines of like sustaining or maintaining an environment that stimulates growth And I found that so interesting to read on the definition of culture from a biology perspective, and how that actually has a direct correlation with corporate culture, right?
Yeah.
Sustaining an environment that facilitates growth, or something along those lines. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I think once you have those people in the door now, as you said, it often becomes challenging onboarding them, but at least your employees are getting awesome little onboarding boxes.
They do.
They get welcome boxes with, I don't know, a water bottle, a pen, something. It's these smaller micro moments that when you join an organization, you think, well, these people actually care about me.
Yeah, it's actually what you really don't, what people don't understand. It's those small things, It comes in at a time where people don't expect it. For example, it's not just the welcoming kit. Welcoming kit is actually becoming more of a trend right now. You find it everywhere. So it's people are doing it because other people are doing it.
Yeah.
They don't understand the real value. I still remember, the first time I received the kit. It has a very sentimental meaning to you as a new employee. You love it. You take a picture of it. You share it with your friends and family. You take it back to your friends. It means a lot for them. So we have to be very, very careful about it. Understand that it has actually a very sentimental meaning and value. We try to design it, by the way, in a way that actually keeps it it's not just a box that you'll take it and then throw it away. Sometimes we try to be very innovative. We find and still looking for the best way that once you open that box, you can change it into, for example, a stand for your something, or a calendar. We try to find these kind of things that keep that sentimental meaning with you.
Awesome.
all the way around. And it's the other things that you do as well. An employee who's actually getting married, or an employee who's actually getting a newborn baby, we send those small messages. If someone is sick, actually, we send them a chocolate package, a flower, and you send it to them, and few weeks ago, actually, I got sick and I had to take a couple of days off. I received it. From my team, not because I'm the head of HR, but because I was actually sick.
Yeah.
I honestly left that moment. I was really thankful, I loved it. And I start thanking my team, and it keeps you understand how other people are actually feeling. They love it, people, it's all these small things that you think it's not relative, it's not important. But I one of the things that for me, it's a standard. Whenever I see one of those messages that we send to employee that congratulations someone for getting a newborn baby, or God forbid maybe losing a loved one or someone like that, it's a standard thing that I do. I will never miss. When I'll try my best, I'll send a small message, either congratulations these people, or the other way around. So I want them to understand that really we care. Sometimes when I am in LinkedIn and I see one of the employees are actually extremely happy about joining the organization or even leaving the organization, I'll try my best as well to comment on that. I try to find in my schedule that we are extremely happy and proud to have you with us. We are really sorry to see you leave. It's all about giving that image and maintaining that image as much as you can. You have to fix things inside the organization and also maintain an image outside of the organization as well.
For sure. I think so many HR professionals get it wrong in the sense that they look at attracting talent, but they don't really focus too much on retaining talent, right? And that all stems or boils down to how to engage your employees. And these little micro moments, at least that's what we call it here at WorkFam.
And we have our share of challenge, by the way. We have people who are actually joining us and people who are leaving us. We have people who are extremely not happy. We have people who are very happy. We have people at different ages. It's very important that you understand what are these challenges, and that there are challenges. But the thing is, what are we going to do about them? So we do understand. Maybe if you talk to one or two of our employees, they will say working right now in the organization is it's not the best time because we don't have, for example, an office space, or they were expecting something different. We know and we understand what are the challenges, but we are putting plans right now to fix these challenges. Some are related to space. It's not, as I said, our responsibility, but we convey the message always to the leadership. We say this will cause a lot of issue for employees and will cause people to leave or not be as much productive as you would expect. It's understanding where the problem is and trying to put a plan, or not trying, actually putting a plan and finding a solution. If one door doesn't open, try knocking on a different door.
Yep.
So you will face so many different challenges, budget related, or sometimes people, or sometimes someone who's actually thinking that's not important. You guys are exaggerating. You guys don't know what you are doing. You might find someone like this. It's finding the balance, and that's why it's very challenging to work in HR. It's not an easy job. It's people, either they hate you or they hate you kind of job.
Lose.
It's a lose always, because people think about what they want most of the time. You would find some people who are actually really understanding, and once you find these guys, you would want to jump and hug them, because you guys understand.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're recognizing me.
You understand the challenge that you face. So it's an employee, what they want and they need, and you have their manager and what they want and they need, and you have the business and what they want and they need, and you have the outside kind of policies what they want and they need. So it's all this, and you are in the middle trying to take all these people, all these different minds in together, and trying to solve the issues together as well, making everyone happy as much as you can.
I think a lot of your employees, based on the very small discussions that I've had with some of your team members, are really enjoying your Got Talent initiatives, right? About knowledge sharing. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the small projects that we really loved and enjoyed doing a lot. And there is actually a reason why. I get surprised knowing that some of the employees that we have in our organization are unbelievably talented in a field that you don't expect. You find someone who's actually a rally racer that we did not know until we saw some kind of picture on the news. And it really pains me that I have a talent. So it might be a different kind of talent when it comes to business, but it is a talent. But you didn't know about it until you saw it in the news. We have people who are actually writers, poet. We had people who are exceptional photographers, but they are not really professional photographers. You have all different kind of talent, I'll tell you one actual true story that always I remember that, because I heard it and it stuck in my mind, and I said I will try to do something different when I'm at that position. At that position, one of the biggest companies in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, they were expecting visitors from Japan, and they want a interpreter that can speak Japanese. It was a very short kind of trip. It was not planned before, so they talked with everyone. They couldn't find any interpreter or Japanese who can speak at least English, Japanese, or Arabic.
Within the company?
They did not look into the company. They looked outside the company.
There we go.
They went everywhere. They went to the embassy. They went to all kinds of services. And they managed to get one from the embassy, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but he will translate into a different language. Another one will translate into
translators.
Arabic. Yeah. So they took this team and this Japanese and gave them a tour inside the company. They came at that desk where one guy stood up and started talking to them in Japanese. Imagine how long they spent, and they were trying to find someone to speak. But imagine the effect if that employee from the beginning who can speak Japanese is actually representing the organization. So that stuck in my mind. I remember the story maybe like 5 or 6 or maybe even more, years ago. And I said, I don't want to reach a point where something like that might happen in my organization. So and that's one of the reasons. Another thing is, when you know people at their personal level, it creates a completely different kind of relationship. You start making people bond together much more. And when you open up to others and they say, "I loved what you do," it's a personal kind of appreciation. So it creates a different kind of environment, and this is what actually was the main thing that I was looking for. I want people to know their friends. This is a human being that you're sitting next to. It's not a competition. If that person was actually outside, he might be your best friend. You see?
Yeah.
But now you guys have a lot of in common. Now you have something to talk about. Now if you want a help from that department or that person who is in a completely different department, you can start a conversation by saying, I attended that event where you actually shared your talent and stuff like that. And we called it Sagia Got Talent.
Sagia Got Talent.
Yeah, because we took it from, the Britain Got Talent and stuff like that, and said we want to create something like that, and it was very successful and people loved it.
It's amazing. I mean, to be able to connect employees organically with maybe even little to no HR intervention, and allow people to connect with colleagues from across departments and break work silos, it only facilitates a stronger, more trusted relationship across the entire organization.
Exactly.
And it's no secret that trust across the business, across your resellers, across your partners, has the potential to accelerate business performance. It's what do they call it? The magic multiplier.
Yeah. We forget that we spend with our colleagues much more time than we actually spend with our family. If you look at it, you spend time sometimes with them more than you see them, more than you see your kids, your family, your brothers and sisters, and that's a fact that we forget. It's in your face, but you forget it. So the relationship that you have to have with that, and I've heard it before. My work colleagues are my work colleagues. I will never go with them outside of the work. I will never be their friend in that sense. They are my work colleagues. They're not my friends.
Yeah.
But we don't look at them as human beings. If you met that person outside, they might be your best friend.
Yeah.
But because you put that kind of sticker on them, they are work, it's more like a machine kind of relationship, but it should never be like this.
Yeah.
These people they have to have your back, they have to support you, you have to trust them, they have to trust you as well. You have to really, really love working with them for you to be really protective. You have to be very careful of that. So with that kind of initiative, I was trying to open your eyes as an employee. This guy is not a machine, this guy is not your work colleague, this guy is a human being that you could be your best friend.
Yeah.
If you just give it a chance.
This is not a colleague. This is a member of your work fam.
Exactly. It's a member of your work family. Exactly.
Alrighty, so let's go into a fire round, right? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask you a series of questions, or rather I'm going to say one word. That word might be a topic, it might be a person, and then just let us know how you feel and what you think about that.
Sure.
So, corporate culture.
Corporate culture. It's it's what eats your strategy. If you don't really understand and know your corporate culture very well, all your other planning and all your other projects will fail. You have to understand your corporate culture. You have to work by it.
Diversity without inclusion.
It will never work. You have to have both. It has to be all in one. It's a complete failure. That's what that's to make it very simple. It will fail.
I want to take the discussion into a little bit of a different spin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to name 3 names, and then I want you to tell me who you would, 1, never go into business with, 2, would love to partner with, or 3, would love to be friends with, right? So
friend, business, partner. Work with or work again?
Yeah, so friend, business partner, and would never go into business with. All right?
I hope that's not a trick question. We'll see.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey.
So, partner, friends. I think Oprah Winfrey as a friend will be very interesting. I've definitely a friend. Maybe she's very close to people. You can see that from what you see that she really is more of a social, close to people, loves people, talk about people. Try to solve some of the issues and the challenges that relate to the social and people. So she might be a very good friend.
Yeah, I think there's a thing or two that we might be able to learn from her from an HR perspective as well. No?
Yeah. Now, Elon Musk is actually a figure that. So what's remaining is partner with
and never go into business with. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos.
Never go into. So I have to choose one for each one of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's you've cornered me with that question. You know? For me, Elon Musk is someone that I would. It's not that I will. Okay, so I love what he's doing. You know, some of the business leaders right now are life changing. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk is one of those people, you know, that came into the industry and changed everything in the industry. If you look throughout the history, you can't find a lot of people who do stuff like that. So when Elon Musk came into the business, electric car became a reality. It was a dream. Never people will actually thought that it's going to be. People start traveling to the space commercially. But you know, it's previously only the government supported initiatives can go to the space. Now you can go to space.
Yeah.
And he's very interesting character.
He's also a fellow South African, I might add.
Yeah. So for me, I love his character, but I don't know about doing business with him. Is it going to be something easy or difficult?
That's the thing.
That's from because I've read his biography about him. I think all the genius people are really very difficult to work with because they are genius. Steve Jobs is one of them. I've read a couple of biographies actually, and I watched 2 movies about him. You know, it's you can see that it's very challenging to work with them. So maybe, but it doesn't mean that I don't love them. I love them. I love what they
but
do.
You have to.
Yeah. But let me say, I will do business maybe with Jeff Bezos and.
Never go into business with Elon Musk. It's a tough call.
It is because now I want to change maybe right now, but that's the thing. But to be honest, I think that Elon Musk is one of those few people that are changing the industry, like Jeff, exactly like what Steve Jobs did to the industry. You know, these kind of characters are people who actually change the whole industry, the whole perspective, and you don't get these kind of people maybe like once every 10 years or stuff like that. And this is what I think. More. Yeah.
I'd like to discuss and circle back to the Ministry of Investments and KSA as a whole and yourself and talk a little bit about the awards that you as an individual as well as an organization have won over the last 6 months to a year. Both coincidentally are around crisis management. So do you want to walk us through the 2 different awards that you won in recent history and why was it related to crisis management?
Yeah. One of the most things that actually being a Saudi, I'm being a Saudi, you know, I'm really proud of is the way that we dealt with what took place in the pandemic. And even at MISA at that time, and the way we dealt with the pandemic, I think is really exemplary. You know, we did a lot of things. We anticipated what might happen, and we put a plan and executed that plan based on it. If I go back, you know, I think the earliest serious kind of news that took place was somewhere around December, you know, 2019. At the beginning of the new year, you started understanding that this is becoming really, really serious. It's a pandemic, and the alarms start going out from the health organizations and stuff like that. So we start thinking about what might be happening, what might happen here back at MISA. Seeing that a lot is actually depending on the organization as a Minister for Investment. So if something might happen, a lot will be affected for the organization. So immediately at that stage, you know, we sat down in a HR department along with our other colleagues from under the shared services deputyship. We call it deputyship. It's like a big function under the shared services. So we sat down, we talked, what do we expect? What might happen? A lockdown was actually one of the options. So if we go into a lockdown, what can we do? Can we work from home? Are we ready? Do we have all what we need? All these questions we start asking. How can we communicate with people? That was as early as maybe January, February, way before anyone else was actually before the lockdowns and stuff like that. And we put down a plan. We said, okay, so let's test our system first before we do anything. So we asked a couple of employees from HR, another from finance, where people actually always deal with the system. You guys go and work from home, test everything. Like, I think maybe seven employees and stuff like that. Work completely from home. Let's test the system. So they went to home and they started testing the system, and they came back with all the inputs. We increased the capacity even for, at that time, who uses remote meeting? Almost no one, unless it's very rare cases. So the capacity for the servers were not that high. So we took that into place also, and we increased it. Then after that, we said, okay, now we have to stress test the system.
Yeah.
So we want 1/3 of our employees to work from home for a couple of days and test it.
Even prior to kind of a mandate.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even before that,
Yeah.
we said let's stress test it. So 1/3 of our employees, we asked them to work from home and test the communications, test the working from home, and we came back with the challenges. Then we said, okay, right now we want to test all employees. We want all employees except for the managers to stay at the office. We want to keep stress just in case. It's always about just in case a lockdown might come.
Yeah.
Before we go to that stage, lockdown actually took place somewhere around 16th of March, if I'm not mistaken, and we went into lockdown immediately from that. When that took place, we were already ready.
Unbelievable foresight there.
Yeah. Other organizations were still thinking, oh my God, we don't have capacity. The system are not working. For us, we are very lucky to be one of the few organizations, I think even worldwide, that were actually, when they went, we were already past the technical difficulties, but we were facing what? The human factor, because that challenges.
Yeah.
We maybe skipped maybe 2-3 months of all that issues, of the technicality issues.
Yeah.
We went directly into the human issues, the challenges. We work 24 hours. We can those kind of conversation. We don't have time now. My managers calls me all the time. It's very new. It's different. So for us, we skipped the first technical part, which was very challenging for so many different organizations. We now starting into understanding what's painful. We did a lot of pulse surveys as well. We met with we did direct meetings with managers. What are the challenges that you're facing? We suggested, we even printed out different kind of documentations. How to deal with it, how to work from home, how to prepare a space for you to work. This is your space, working space. You have to be careful of your family. Understand that all this kind of information actually was already printed and sent to our employees.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. The thing is that we skipped maybe 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I still remember getting emails and questions from some of my colleagues in the country. What are you doing right now? How do you deal with that kind of situation? Did people complain? Yeah, they complained and we solved it already.
Yeah.
We've way past that, and that's why we received an award for crisis management. Even SAGI, even the MISA at that time also received a couple of rewards at the way it was dealing with that challenge. So it's always about anticipating, putting the plan, and not waiting. Because I still remember the question, what are you going to do? We'll wait and see what are the directions. Everyone else at that time, where the common response is, we really don't know. We'll just wait until we get a direction from somewhere outside.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely no crisis management.
Yeah. For us, we said no. This is it. We'll deal with it. Interesting. This crisis management was the most highest demand job at that time, if you remember. All of a sudden, everyone wants a crisis management manager or crisis management employee when that actually took place.
Yeah.
Before, it was not apparent. So that's the thing, the very important thing. People were saying, we'll wait and see how others, or what the directions. For us, we didn't wait. We immediately took it into action.
That's fantastic, because so often people get stuck in this kind of return on investment play, right? If we spend time, if we spend energy, if we spend money figuring out a problem or trying to resolve a problem that we don't even know exists yet, we might burn through capital, we might waste resources, but that foresight is unbelievable.
It's underestimating the situation sometimes that kills an organization. Not understanding that this is actually a threat. It's very understandable. People never thought that something like this would happen. We still think about it like a movie scene. It's a movie.
Yeah.
You would never imagine that something like this would happen, but actually, it happened, and it happened even before. It's not the first time that the universe is actually hit by pandemic. It happened a couple of times before.
SARS, I think, was the last.
Yeah, not even way back. Like what they call it, black.
The Black Plague.
Yeah, exactly. It happened before.
Yeah.
It's not something new, but people sometimes they either underestimate or think that they are above it. What happened with Nokia, for example? Nokia was actually making fun of Apple's iPhones when they first were introduced. Where Nokia have been sold.
Where are
like
they now?
Yeah, they've been sold like 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, since then. So it's being smart, anticipate, forecast, and quick, and always do something. Don't just wait until you see others. That's the issue.
So what's your outlook as an organization right now on work from home? Are you adopting long-term work from home policies still? And if so, how are you currently addressing that human factor that you said you managed to reach 3-4 months prior to any other organization?
Yeah, it's we have work from home right now policies that are in place. We have the systems, the tools that enable us. Platforms as well that can enable people to talk to each other. Policies and procedures are in place right now. Now we are much more organized than what we were back then. The systems, the tools, the learning experience, and all that kind of stuff. We use different tools as well to help communicate with each other as well. That's the thing.
All right, so I think as we near the end of our discussion, I'd like to touch on maybe one last topic, which is the 2030 vision. Maybe you can shed some light on what Saudi is doing.
Yeah, well, with 2030 vision, it's a very clear example into actually organizations. Let's take it away from that perspective. When can an organization be really successful? It comes from actually culture. And having a leader that's actually right there and understand how to implement and change and make all the necessary changes in the culture. So I think with 2030 vision, we are extremely, extremely lucky that we have someone like His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, where I think actually he's one of the in terms of, and I'm saying this again, not because he's his Royal Highness or because he's the Crown Prince. I'm saying this from purely an HR perspective, someone who's been in the HR for almost 20 years. Most of my work is actually in leadership development, talent management, stuff like that. Understand what sets someone apart from anyone else. And I've read and watched a lot of biographies about different leaders in the market, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and I understand what makes them different from each and every one of them, different from each and every someone else. So for me, it's not just anyone can come out and say we have a vision. It's actually do you have what it takes to actually make that vision is successful? Are you that kind of leader? And for me, I think that if you look, for example, at the Leadership Challenge, one of the most famous books when it comes to leadership understanding, there are maybe like 5 or 6 leadership competencies or traits, and you can understand and see where these traits fit in a good leader, for example. And when I talk to,
do you have examples of those traits?
I'll come to it, but the thing is, sometimes when I'm in a meeting talking about leadership competencies, trying to explain the leadership concept to people, and I ask them that question immediately. I say, think about leadership figures. Who do you come to your mind? Why do you like them or why do you hate them? They will start telling you immediately, these guys, they make right decisions, they are supportive, stuff. We hate them because they don't listen, they don't understand, they only focus on money, they don't focus on people. People tell you exactly what set a good leader apart from a bad leader.
All you have to do is ask.
Exactly. So for example, now if you ask me about some of the leadership competencies and some example, One very clear leadership competency is actually having a vision, visionary. So is this person actually a visionary or not? Does he have a vision? Does he understand where they want to go and how and where they are going to reach? So that's one of the things that I always say, yes, definitely 100%. His Royal Highness is actually one of those people who actually has a vision, and it's very apparent, very clear. Do they enable people? Do they enable people? Do they give them the tools, the things that they want? This is 100% clear. Actually, if you look into some of the interviews that took place with some of the ministers that work closely with him, he brings them within the first couple of months, like 1 month, 2 months, and he says, "What did you do so far?" Your Highness, I've been in this position for 30 days or 60 days. So that's enough. What did you do?
Yeah.
And he say they all answer, well, we did 1, 2, 3. Why didn't you do more?
Yeah. Why not 4, 5, 6?
Exactly. And they answer, because I don't have that, or because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And okay, that's it. You'll get it right now.
Yeah.
Let me see if you can do it or not. You have to make change. So that's one of the things. You have to have vision, enable people, and these are one of the things. Also, is capable to what's on his mind is actually on your mind as well. You want the same thing.
That alignment, yeah.
That alignment, exactly. You know, he can see the future, and you can relate to the future that he's actually seeing. So when a leader talks about that future or that place that we want to go, he starts telling the story. You can relate immediately. You love there. You say, I want to be there. You know. So these are some of the traits. It's there like 5 or 6 traits that actually, when I think about it, because this is one of the best books that I've read in terms of leadership. It's called The Leadership Challenge. I can relate easily that yes, he has those traits. Mohammed bin Salman or anyone else, you can easily say they know what they are talking about, and it's very apparent. You can see a leader when they talk. You can immediately tell, do they know what they are talking about, or they're just there by coincidence, or they are a cover for someone else.
Yeah.
And you can reflect that on all different leadership, as I said again. Now, coming back to the 2030 vision, it's a very challenging things to do, and people talked about it and were against it internally and externally sometimes. Exactly like what happened with Dubai.
Yeah.
You know, when Dubai is set to make a difference in the region, people were starting to attack Dubai. It will never work. It will end within like 5 years. Even when that great, I think it was 20. When there was this very big economic drop in everywhere.
2008.
I think 2008. Yeah, they said, you see, it collapsed.
Yeah.
It was a very challenging time for Dubai, of course, because it depends on completely different kind of aspect in the region, but it was a setback, and now it's back.
100%. I mean, these bold moves spark discussions, controversial discussions.
Yes, you have to challenge. You know, now there's another trait. It's actually challenge the process. As a leader, you have to challenge the process. What doesn't work? Why doesn't it work? What needs to be done? And 100%, Mohammed bin Salman always challenges the process. And challenging the process is not basically challenging the way you do business. It's challenging the way people think. If you take, for example, female driving, this is one of the things. It's actually challenging the process. Yeah. Not in its literal meaning, but it is challenging the culture, the understanding, the community, and stuff like that, and doing the necessary step to make it happen. Take that example and use it in everywhere else. So 2030 vision, it's very challenging. I think within the last 4 or 5 years that actually, since that took place, it's extremely clear that Saudi Arabia, it's not the same. It's completely different. It's leading in the region in many different aspects, and sometimes leading even in international arena. For example, what took place and happened with the coronavirus, for example, we had so many different technologies that helped us really as Saudis to really live, to the extent that when we travel to different countries, we are amazed that they don't have the same things. Yeah. It's different for us. It's like I don't know if you have heard about the application Tawakkalna or not. Maybe you've heard about it. So Tawakkalna is actually an application. I don't know why I put my mobile. So it's an application that has all your vaccination in it. Yeah. And we had that. We
have Al-Husn here.
Yeah, we have that since maybe like the first 4 or 5 months. You don't need it. It's connected already to everything else. This would not have happened if you didn't have a strong vision that emphasize on technology, because this is one of the things that was actually in that vision. You have to emphasize on technology. We had that ready 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months maybe, more or less in the, I don't know exactly when, but in the pandemic. So that's one. Few days ago, 21 young brilliant Saudis won awards in being smart and creative. It's called ISEF Forum. 21 young Saudis. This
Beautiful.
is one of the things that would not come out if there was not very high investment in education and correcting all the process that are related to education. And all these are actually coming from the 2030 vision. You have main pillars, and each one of those pillars, there are different initiatives, and these different initiatives are connected with different ministries within the organization. You have like an office that we call in each and every ministry. There's the big ministries. There's an office or departments that dedicated to follow up in their vision. Okay.
Vision champions, if you will.
They call it Vision Realization Office. Okay. So that vision is actually one way of, when you set a strategy, you have to have people who are actually following up, making sure that is actually being achieved. And there is one new organization that's called ADA. It's monitoring the performance of all the organization. Everything is connected to each other. Now, when we started the Vision 2030, were we ready? 100% no, we were not ready. Did we make all the correct plans and decisions in the beginning? No, we did not. But it's plan, put the strategy, and learn as you execute. Exactly. So it changed. Actually, a couple of times it changed. But you can see now, if you visit Riyadh during the Riyadh season, it's we've never thought that we'll have something like this. People visiting Riyadh from Dubai. It's the norm is people go to Dubai, for example. Now you get people coming to Riyadh to see the season, the activities and stuff like that.
It's beautiful. And I think corporations around the world, large, medium, small organizations, can take that same concept, right? In terms of planning, not necessarily being ready for it, but executing and readjusting and learning and changing as you continue to move forward. This is the only way that we can gain competitive advantage over other players in the market.
If people did not challenge the process, if you did not have people who are really brave enough, smart enough to really challenge the process, you wouldn't have an iPhone, you wouldn't have Tesla, you wouldn't have all these different amazing inventions that we have them right now. If you can Google one of the very famous interviews that was with Steve Jobs. He was saying, look at the people around you, look at your phone, look at everything around you. Who built these devices? Were they people coming from outside, aliens, or are the people like you and I? Okay, so what's stopping you from being that person that builds that?
Those invisible doors or walls that you were referring to earlier.
And you have to have these people who are really genius. They think different than you and I. That's why they are genius. These kind of people who will really make the changes. You have these figures. Sometimes they might be leaders of organization companies. Sometimes might be leaders of nations. So it might be a leader of a company, of an organization, but they have to be different than anyone else and genius to make that change and make an effect on the world.
Fantastic. Well said.
Thank you so much.
I'd like you to leave us and the listeners potentially with some words of advice in terms of maybe one of the best HR practices or policies that you're currently rolling out or executing in a post-pandemic world.
I think one of the most important things, maybe like 2 or 3 things that comes to my mind. One of them is communication. People need to understand why you are doing this, and you have to have them in your mind. So you have to be that mediator, someone in the middle. If we're talking about HR professionals, for an HR professionals, and this can be reflected in everyone else as well. Talk to people, tell them why you are changing or doing something, and explain to it. So after that they will have one of three decisions. They either will agree, they will refuse, or they will say, we don't care, do whatever you want to do. But telling them will make it much more easier, will lessen the challenge that you face, the resistance, and will enable and maybe get one of those people who are actually very excited right now because you are going to do this, I want to join you as well. So communication is very important. Let people know what you are doing and why you are doing it. Another thing when it comes to career advice is give yourself a chance to try different things. Okay, you can choose to make that huge jump and change. That's your option. You might fall. It might be very painful for you. No, hopefully, inshallah, it will not kill you that jump fall, because you will normally try to make the right kind of jump. Sometimes to
calculated.
Exactly, calculated. Sometimes to really jump a far away distance, you have to go back 4 or 5 or 6 steps in order for you to build that momentum to run faster and jump.
Beautiful analogy.
Yeah. So sometimes you might need to make a decision that takes you 3 or 4 steps back. That's fine. It's give it a chance, try it out, and give it enough chance. Don't be very quick to change. That's the problem when it comes to people trying something. Change it, work with something, decide to do something, then analyze it. What can be done better? If you can't, then see the result. If you can't, you can move to a different idea. Don't change in the middle before you really see your thought, your plan, your idea really grown or understanding why did it fail. Yani if you want to change something, you have to understand why did it fail and give it enough time and try to fix it. If it can't be fixed, then you should move. Don't stick to it too much, to lose time, and don't be very quick to change from the beginning.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Well, sir, thank you very much for joining us here on the Work Pod. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, and hopefully in a couple months we'll fly out to Saudi and pay you a visit.
Inshallah.
Mr. Abdulaziz.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you so much.